The idea of shared universes between different franchises has become an extremely prevalent trend over the last 10 or so years, something that's more or less completely owed to Marvel. The success of the MCU was, and still remains to this day, unprecedented. Even post-Endgame, the MCU has been profitable at minimum, and at its peak was quite literally a globally dominating force. A few blunders here and there have really slowed down their success and influence, but while they were on top, their ideas bled to all kinds of media, not just other films and competitors. One such form of media was with video games. Ubisoft is one of the most successful video game developers there's ever been. Even today, with the reputation of Ubisoft steadily declining after nearly 10 years of bad press and shady business practices, nearly every one of their releases performs well enough to turn a profit at worst and make an absurd amount of money at best. Assassin's Creed Valhalla alone, one of Ubisoft's most divisive games ever made, mind you, has grossed over $1 billion. Despite Ubisoft being constantly hated by their own fans for seemingly failing to ever make a decision that the fans want, their games still perform well. The question then becomes, why? And the answer is honestly pretty simple. People simply love these franchises, and despite the fact that most of them hit their peak a long time ago, fans will still come back for the next experience with the vain hope it will live up to, or maybe even surpass, the previous best. But we aren't here today to discuss individual franchises and their decline. We're here instead to try and understand Ubisoft's bizarre and seemingly patched together universe many of their games supposedly share. Fault the MCU as much as you like, they definitely deserve it lately. But at least the shared universe there makes sense. Ubisoft's, however, is a confusing mess that I will try to unravel today. Hey, if you find that you're enjoying the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe and ring that bell to stay notified. I'll be uploading every Sunday this year, so stay tuned. I'm trying to hit 30,000 subs by the end of the year, and with your help, I know we can get there. Thanks! To start this off, I'm going to mention the most blatant connections between some of these franchises, and then I'll work my way down to the ones that start to make a little less sense, or actively make the shared universe concept start to kind of fall apart. The most obvious connection between any of these series are with the Tom Clancy Ubisoft games, meaning Rainbow Six Siege, Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint, and Splinter Cell. In both Ghost Recon Wildlands and Breakpoint, different Tom Clancy series characters appear to assist the protagonist in different missions. Sam Fisher from Splinter Cell appears in both games, and in both instances, you're assisting him in a dangerous stealth op. In one of them, it's retrieving some sensitive intelligence, while in the other, you're assisting in uncovering and dismantling a rogue faction's plans involving lethal drone tech. In these missions, references to the Splinter Cell games are everywhere, directly mentioning the events of those games.
Guess he's had it rougher than most. He lost both his parents when he was a kid. And apparently, somebody faked his daughter's death. He's been shot, stabbed, tortured. That bastard's still ticking.
Meaning that these appearances of Sam Fisher aren't meant to be part of some kind of unique Ghost Recon universe. This Sam Fisher and this Sam Fisher are confirmed through a lot of dialogue to be the same person, meaning that the universe they share are 100% the same. The shared universe only grows from this point forward, as Sam Fisher is not the only guest to appear in the Ghost Recon games. Multiple different Rainbow Six Siege operators also appear in the games. Caveira and Twitch both appear in Ghost Recon Wildlands, and Ash, Thatcher, and Finka all appear in Breakpoint. Once again, the protagonist helps/is helped by the different Siege operators in various different missions. What only further added to the shared universe of the Tom Clancy games was an addition to Rainbow Six Siege, as only a few months after Sam Fisher's second appearance in the Ghost Recon series, this time in Breakpoint, he was added to Rainbow Six Siege as the Operator Zero. Not only adding him as a playable operative, but as a solidified canon character in the universe. Despite there being no mention of his time assisting in Ghost Recon anywhere in his bio, that doesn't really change anything, as all of his exploits are redacted in his bio, and no mention of assisting in Ghost Recon are in any of the other operators' bios either. Out of all the Ubisoft games, these three properties share the most DNA and unquestionably share a single connected world. That is made a little more complicated, especially due to Rainbow Six, as its lore is admittedly a little stupid, especially compared to how grounded Splinter Cell and Ghost Recon are. And that's not even mentioning that the technology present in Rainbow Six far out surpasses anything in the other Tom Clancy games. But those things we can let slide, as they're pretty much just for gameplay purposes. There's a lot of very cool attention to detail that really makes this universe feel shared and real. That said, where things get a little confusing is with Ubisoft's other massive franchises, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Watch Dogs, and in particular, The Division. I'm going off script for a minute here, as I'm realizing looking it over that I don't really talk about The Division much, and the reason is because that game genuinely doesn't have much shared DNA with any of the other games in any of Ubisoft's series. And I didn't even realize while writing this, I just totally forgot. The Division is literally a Tom Clancy property, and yet for some reason is 100% absent from that shared Tom Clancy universe. Outside of a handful of Easter eggs, there is nothing tying this series into the other Tom Clancy games. It for some reason was just completely cut out of having that, benefit, I guess. The other Tom Clancy games all being part of the same world just kind of feel better, like knowing that they're all part of the same universe. They can work with each other and share characters and narratives, and that makes it feel grander in a cool way. It may be because The Division is kind of a large-scale story. Pretty much all of New York, from what I remember, is cut off in the first game, quarantined and isolated, and having no other teams going in to help is just a little odd. But there are pretty major events in the other Tom Clancy games as well, where realistically other operatives and other agencies would come in to help, and they don't, so I don't really know if that's a good enough excuse. Anyway, rant over. I just think it's odd that this Tom Clancy property was not bunched in with the rest in this shared world. It seems a little stupid, and is kind of another example of Ubisoft not really caring to have any consistency when it comes to this shared universe idea. I honestly don't know how to start this segment. I could pretty much start by discussing any of these franchises, so I'll just let an RNG machine decide. So just hold on. That's so funny. When I wrote the script and did this initially, I got a 4, and when I just did that again to type out for the audio, I got 4 again, so I definitely have to do number 4. So that means I get to talk about Watch Dogs, everyone's favorite Ubisoft property. Yay! Starting off, Watch Dogs makes numerous references to the Assassin's Creed franchise, from small things like the Abstergo logo being prevalent to a way more major connection that connects these franchises in such a major way Ubisoft probably didn't intend to. Aiden Pierce, the protagonist of the first Watch Dogs, literally kills Olivier Garneau, the CEO of Abstergo Industries, which is actually once again shown in Assassin's Creed Origins. Olivier is not a small-time player in the Assassin's Creed universe. Being CEO of Abstergo means he's a very high-ranking Templar, so having him killed by someone who's not an assassin in another Ubisoft game is kinda crazy. Beyond that, a DLC character was added to Watch Dogs Legion, Darcy Clarkson, a literal assassin who's part of the Assassin's Brotherhood. That makes the connection 100% solidified. Or rather, it would, had the head writer of Assassin's Creed not stated that not only does Aiden Pierce not kill Garneau, Darcy Clarkson does not exist as a canon character either. Basically saying that neither of this event nor this character are canon to the Assassin's Creed world. Why? I have literally no idea. The two franchises really don't clash with each other in any way narratively, and could easily work hand in hand. Honestly, the way Watch Dogs works, it's kinda the next logical step for a modern-day Assassin's Creed game. And honestly, despite what the head writer may say, I still personally choose to see them as a shared universe, as until seemingly recently, they clearly did. Keeping things somewhat grounded, we've got the Far Cry games. While not exactly the most realistic of Ubisoft's games, even when compared to Watch Dogs, and especially Assassin's Creed, the stories in Far Cry are pretty grounded, which to me means it would make perfect sense for it to be connected to the other grounded Ubisoft properties. One of the most obvious connections is in Far Cry New Dawn, where you can actually find the crashed Paladin, which was the plane that Sam Fisher operates his agency, 4th Echelon, from in Splinter Cell Blacklist. This one thing throws the entire Ubisoft shared universe out of whack instantly, as Far Cry New Dawn takes place after Far Cry 5, which, if you recall, ends with the United States being nuked. Something that major would have to have been mentioned in another Ubisoft game, especially a Tom Clancy game. Now, the most obvious explanation would be that this is just meant to be an Easter egg. And honestly, you could make that argument for any other reference in Assassin's Creed, The Division, Far Cry, or Watch Dogs to other Ubisoft games. And yeah, frankly, most of them probably are. But I have to ask, why? There is nothing between any of these games that should prevent them from all being part of the same larger world. The Tom Clancy side of things, aside from The Division, has already managed to do that pretty seamlessly. So it's just very odd to me that Ubisoft won't make the effort to extend that treatment to the rest of their major properties. The only major issue I could see with this would be with Assassin's Creed. Due to the existence of stuff like the Isu and other really mythical elements in the Assassin's Creed games, it makes integrating them a lot harder. But that doesn't mean it's impossible. Again, at their absolute best, the MCU has been able, and is still able, to successfully create a shared world where superheroes as simple as Captain America can believably share the screen with something as otherworldly and crazy as Groot.
I am Groot!
I am Steve Rogers.
I look at that scene and I don't think that's impossible and stupid, I think that's damn hilarious. So why can't we have a Splinter Cell game where you break into Abstergo? Or for that matter, a new Splinter Cell game at all, Ubisoft, you fucking pieces of shit. Anyway, or imagine a siege map that takes place in Pagan Min's complex. Hell, imagine an operator in R6 who's part of the Assassin's Brotherhood. It really isn't that hard to imagine. It really annoys me that half of Ubisoft's franchises can comfortably coexist and work with one another, and the entire, arguably bigger half can't find a way to be integrated. If not Assassin's Creed, then Far Cry, Watch Dogs, and The Division at least. Layla Hassan in Assassin's Creed Odyssey not only interacts with Fisher's goggles, but even comments on the agencies he's worked with. Again, I know it's just a fun little Easter egg, but it could so easily be so much more. The potential of a shared universe is so appealing, and honestly not that complicated. And Ubisoft, like most things, has seemingly chosen to squander it. If you enjoyed the video, and especially if you agree with me that Ubisoft should commit and merge these worlds, let me know by hitting like and subscribing. And don't forget to comment why you do or don't agree with me. I'd be pretty interested to see your opinions. Until next time, I'm Sir Surgeonor, and I really hope you enjoyed. Peace!